Did you know humans are considered the weakest creatures in the universe? No claws, no sharp teeth, and no hard skin. The aliens made a fatal mistake. They captured a human thinking he was harmless. But they didn't know the truth, that humans are the universe's most dangerous biological weapon. By the time they checked our DNA, it was already too late. Watch how a single human brought an entire alien army to its knees. The universe is a very big and scary place. There are monsters with skin made of rock. There are predators with teeth as long as knives. There are creatures that can drink acid and breathe fire. In this dangerous galaxy, strength is everything. If you are weak, you die. If you are strong, you rule. The Galactic Council was a group of the strongest alien races. They had seen everything. They had studied every animal and every soldier in the stars. They believed they knew exactly what made a creature strong. But they were wrong. They made one big mistake. They looked at a human and they laughed. They thought the human was the weakest thing they had ever seen. They did not know that they had just brought a monster onto their ship. And by the time they realized their mistake, it was already too late. This story begins in the cold white laboratory of a massive alien spaceship. The ship belonged to the Xylons. The Xylons were a smart race. They were tall and very thin. Their bodies were elegant but fragile like glass. They relied on technology and shields to survive. They did not like to fight with their hands. They liked to study things, categorize them, and then destroy them if they were useless. In the center of the lab, there was a metal table. Strapped to the table was a creature they had found floating in a damaged escape pod near the edge of their territory. It was a human. His name was Captain Jack, but the aliens did not know his name. To them, he was just Subject 89. Jack was unconscious. He was wearing torn clothes and he looked dirty. He did not look scary. He did not have sharp claws. He did not have a tail with a spike. He did not have armor plating on his skin. He just looked soft. Dr. Vrock stood over the table. Vrock was the head scientist. He had 4 long fingers and large black eyes. He looked at the human with disappointment. Next to him stood Commander Zex. Zex was the leader of the ship. He wanted soldiers, not weaklings. "Report," Zex said, his voice sounding like a buzzing insect. "What is this thing? Is it a threat?" Dr. Vrock laughed. It was a dry, clicking sound. "A threat? Commander, look at it. It is pathetic." Vrock picked up a scanner and moved it over Jack's body. A blue light washed over the human. On a large screen on the wall, data started to appear. Vrock pointed at the screen. "Look at the external layer," Vrock said. "It has no protection, no scales, no shell, just this soft pink skin. I could cut it with a piece of paper. If this creature walks into a thorn bush, it will bleed. How does it survive in the wild? It is too soft." Commander Zex leaned in closer. He looked at Jack's face. "What about its weapons? Does it have venom sacs? Does it have acid spit?" "No," Vrock replied, shaking his head. "Nothing. Look at the mouth." Vrock used a metal tool to open Jack's mouth. "The teeth are small. They are flat. These are not the teeth of a killer. These are the teeth of a creature that eats soft plants. It has no claws on its hands, only flat nails. It cannot dig. It cannot slash, and it cannot pierce armor." The commander sighed. He looked bored. "So it is useless, a waste of our time. Why did the sensors pick up a high danger warning from its pod?" "I do not know," Vrock admitted. "Perhaps the sensors are broken. This creature is a biological joke. Its body temperature is unstable. It relies on liquid water, which is heavy and inefficient. And look at the bones." The screen changed to show an X-ray of Jack's skeleton. Vrock explained, "The bones are made of calcium. They are dense, yes, but look at the joints. They are simple hinges. If I pull the arm too hard, it will pop out.
If it falls from a height, the legs will break. It is designed poorly." Commander Zex turned away. "Very well. We need space in the containment cells for real monsters. Dispose of this thing. Throw it out of the airlock." "Wait," Vrock said. "I want to run one last test. I want to see how it reacts to pain. Maybe we can use its species as slave labor. If they are weak but obedient, they could be useful." Zex nodded. "Make it quick." Dr. Vrock picked up a device called the nerve stimulator. It was a small rod that delivered a shock directly to the nerves. It was designed to cause maximum pain without damaging the body. For most aliens, one touch of this rod would make them faint. 2 touches could stop their heart from shock. Vrock touched the rod to Jack's chest. Zap! The human body twitched. That was expected, but then something strange happened on the monitor. Beep, beep, beep. The heart rate started to speed up. "Interesting," Vrock said. "The heart rate is increasing. It is feeling the pain." "Do it again," Zex ordered. Vrock touched the rod to Jack's chest again, longer this time. Zap! Suddenly, the machine let out a loud warning sound. Beep, beep, beep. "What is happening?" Zex asked. "Is it dying?" Vrock looked at the data, confused. "No, it is not dying. Commander, look at the chemical levels in the blood. Something is flooding its system. It is a chemical I have never seen." The screen showed a red liquid pumping from a small gland above the human's kidneys. It was flooding the blood, moving to the heart, the brain, and the muscles. "Adrenaline." Vrock read the translation on the screen. "What is adrenaline?" The aliens did not know what adrenaline was. Their species did not have a fight or flight response. When they were in danger, they calculated the odds. They used logic. They remained calm. If the odds were bad, they surrendered. But humans were different. "The heart is beating 3 times faster than normal," Vrock said, his voice trembling slightly. "This should be impossible. The pressure should burst its arteries. Why isn't the heart exploding?" "The temperature is rising," Zex noted. "It is overheating. It will cook its own brain." But Jack did not die. Instead, his muscles began to tighten. Under the soft skin, the muscles became hard like rock. The veins in his neck stood out. His breathing changed. It wasn't shallow anymore. He took a deep, loud breath. The sound echoed in the silent lab. It sounded like a machine starting up. "Doctor," Zex said, stepping back, "why is it vibrating?" I don't know," Vrock stammered. "The chemical, this adrenaline, it is acting like a combat drug, but the body produces it naturally. It is wiping out the pain receptors. It is boosting the strength. Commander, the creature is waking up." "Restrain it," Zex yelled. "It is restrained," Vrock shouted back. "Those straps can hold a Gorlock beast." On the table, Captain Jack opened his eyes. They were not the sleepy eyes of a weak animal. The pupils were dilated, black holes that took in every bit of light. The whites of his eyes were shot with red lines. He did not look at the ceiling. He looked straight at Dr. Vrock. There was no fear in those eyes. There was only pure, ancient aggression. Jack pulled his right arm. The metal cuff held him down. He pulled harder. The aliens watched in horror. They expected the human to stop because the metal was hurting his wrist. They expected him to stop because of the pain. But the adrenaline did not let him feel pain. Jack roared. It was a primal sound, a sound from a death world. With a sickening crunch, the metal strap didn't break, the table did. The bolts holding the cuff to the table ripped out of the metal. Jack's arm was free. "Shoot it!" Zack screamed. The guards in the room raised their laser rifles, but human reaction time, boosted by adrenaline, is something aliens cannot comprehend. Before the guards could aim, Jack swung his free arm. The heavy metal cuff was still attached to his wrist, and he used it like a hammer. He smashed the metal cuff into Dr. Vrock's face. The alien scientist flew across the room and hit the wall. His glass-like bones shattered instantly. Green blood splattered on the white floor. The guards fired. A red laser beam hit Jack in the shoulder. Smoke rose from his skin. The smell of burning flesh filled the room. Any other species would have fallen. Any other species would have gone into shock. Jack didn't even blink. He looked at the burn mark, and then he looked at the guards. He smiled. It was a terrifying display of teeth. "Is that all you got?" Jack growled. The translation machine on the wall struggled to translate the tone. It came out as challenge, threat, violence. Jack ripped the other strap off with his bare hands. He jumped off the table. Standing up, he didn't look small anymore. He stood on two legs, perfectly balanced. The gravity on the ship was slightly lower than Earth, which made Jack feel light.
The spaceship was silent, but it was the silence of a graveyard. Inside the metal walls, inside the dark ventilation tunnels, Captain Jack was crawling. He had been awake for 3 hours now. He had fought guards, broken heavy chains, sprinted for miles, and survived extreme heat. But now a new enemy was attacking him. It wasn't a laser gun, it wasn't a robot. It was hunger. The human body is like a powerful engine. A Ferrari needs high-quality fuel to run fast. A tank needs diesel to crush walls. And Captain Jack? He needed calories. His body had burned through all its energy reserves fighting the aliens. His stomach growled. It was a loud, rumbling sound that echoed in the narrow metal tunnel. Grrr. "Quiet," Jack whispered to his own stomach. "We'll find food soon." He crawled until he saw a light coming through a grate in the floor below. He peered down. It was a storage room, but not for weapons. He saw crates of strange, colorful fruits. He saw tubes of nutrient paste. It was the ship's cafeteria storage. Jack kicked the grate open and dropped down. He landed softly on his feet, scanning the room. No guards, just rows and rows of alien food. He walked over to a crate. Inside were purple spheres, like large grapes. He sniffed one. It smelled sweet. Jack didn't care if it was alien food. Sugar is sugar. Protein is protein. He took a bite. It tasted like dry sponge cake mixed with berries. "Good enough," Jack mumbled. He started eating fast. He grabbed handfuls of the purple spheres. Then he found a tube of brown paste. He tasted it. It tasted like salty meat. He squeezed the tube into his mouth. As he ate, his energy returned. His hands stopped shaking. His brain felt sharper. The engine was refueling. But Jack made a mistake. He was so focused on eating that he didn't hear the door open. A Xylon guard walked in. This was a large guard, a specialized soldier called a heavy trooper. He was wearing thicker white armor than the others. He held a heavy stun baton in his hand. The guard saw Jack. Jack saw the guard. For a second, nobody moved. Jack had a mouthful of purple fruit. The guard had a look of shock. "The creature is in the food supply," the guard shouted into his radio. "He is contaminating the rations." Jack swallowed his food and wiped his mouth. "Hey, I was just leaving." The guard didn't listen. He charged. This alien was braver than the others. He swung the stun baton at Jack's head. Jack ducked. The baton hit a shelf, knocking cans of food everywhere. Jack lunged forward.
He tried to punch the guard, but the white armor was thick. Jack's fist hit hard plastic. It hurt Jack's hand more than the alien. The guard laughed. "You cannot break this armor, soft thing." The guard grabbed Jack. He wrapped his long, thin arms around Jack's body and squeezed. The aliens were weak, yes, but this one was using a powered exoskeleton suit. The suit gave him strength. Jack felt his ribs creaking. He couldn't move his arms. Jack was trapped. He was being crushed. He needed to get free. He couldn't use his hands. He couldn't use his legs. So, he used the only weapon he had left. The weapon that Dr. Vrock had laughed at. His teeth. Jack turned his head and buried his face into the alien's arm, right where the armor had a soft gap for the elbow joint. He bit down, hard. Human jaws can exert hundreds of pounds of pressure. Jack's flat teeth weren't sharp like a tiger's, but they were strong. He bit through the soft fabric of the undersuit. He bit into the blue glassy skin of the alien. He tasted bitter, copper-like blood. Crunch! "Ah!" the guard screamed. The pain was shocking. The guard let go of Jack instantly. Jack spat out the piece of alien fabric and blue blood. Ugh, tastes like battery acid. The guard stumbled back, holding his arm. Purple fruit juice and human saliva were mixed with the blue blood on his wound. You bit me," the guard cried, looking at the wound with disgust. "You savage animal! You have no claws, so you eat me!" Jack grinned. His teeth were stained blue. "I told you, I was hungry." Jack didn't wait. He kicked the guard in the knee joint. The exoskeleton jammed. The guard fell over. Jack grabbed a few more nutrient tubes and ran out the back door before more guards could arrive. The guard lay on the floor. He looked at his arm. It was just a small bite, a jagged tear in the skin. "Medical," the guard said into his radio. "This is Unit 7. I have a minor injury. The subject bit me." "Understood, Unit 7. Apply a bandage. Continue pursuit." It seemed like a small thing, a bite. But on the bridge, Dr. Vrock was listening. And Dr. Vrock was terrified. "Commander!" Dr. Vrock shouted. "Isolate Unit 7. Lock him in a room. Do not let him near anyone." Commander Zex looked at Vrock. "Why? It is just a bite, a physical wound." "No," Vrock said. "It is not just a physical wound. Commander, you must understand the environment the human comes from. Earth is not clean like our world. Earth is a biological war zone." "Explain," Zex ordered. "In Earth," Vrock said, bringing up images of bacteria and viruses on the screen, "microscopic creatures live everywhere. They live in the water, in the dirt, and inside the animals. The humans, they are full of them." "Full of them?" Zex asked, disgusted. "Yes, a human mouth contains over 700 different types of bacteria, millions of individual germs. To the human, they are harmless. Their immune system is a fortress. It kills intruders instantly. But we live in sterile ships. We have no immune system for this. We have no defense." Zex looked at the screen. He saw the simulation of the bacteria entering the alien blood. "So, the human mouth is a bioweapon," Vrock finished. "A toxic, septic weapon. Unit 7 is already dead. He just doesn't know it yet." Down in the food storage room, Unit 7 stood up. He felt a little dizzy. "Strange," Unit 7 muttered. "It is getting hot in here." He looked at his arm. The blue blood had stopped flowing, but the skin around the bite was changing color. It was turning black, and the blackness was spreading. Veins were turning dark purple. He felt a thumping in his chest. Thump, thump, thump. "Medical," Unit 7 said, his voice slurring. I don't feel well." Unit 7, what is your status? My arm, it burns. I can't see clearly. Unit 7 fell to his knees. He vomited a clear liquid. The bacteria from Jack's mouth, Streptococcus and Staphylococcus and others, were feasting. In the sugar-rich, immune-deficient blood of the alien, they were multiplying at an explosive rate. It wasn't an infection. It was an invasion. Within 5 minutes, Unit 7 stopped moving. His body was swollen. The other guards arrived. They saw their comrade on the floor. "He is down!" a guard shouted. He reached out to touch Unit 7. "Do not touch him!" Vrock's voice screamed over the loudspeakers. "Do not breathe the air near him!" The ship went into panic mode. Yellow warning lights started flashing. BO high hazard detected. Sector 9 quarantined. Captain Jack, meanwhile, was 3 corridors away. He heard the alarms. He saw the blast doors closing behind him. "Biohazard?" Jack frowned. "Did I break a chemical tank or something?" He checked himself. He felt fine. He felt strong. He didn't realize that he was the hazard. He was the walking plague. Back on the bridge, the mood had shifted from anger to terror. They were no longer hunting a weak animal. They were trapped in a tin can with a disease. "The infection is spreading through the air vents," Vrock reported grimly. "The human is breathing. Every time he exhales, he releases aerosols, water droplets containing his biology." Zek stood up. He pressed a button on his collar, activating a glass helmet that folded over his head. "Suits," Zex ordered. "Everyone's suits on, now." The crew scrambled to put on emergency breathing masks. They looked like divers drowning in their own ship. "We cannot fight him up close," Zek said in his muffled voice. "If he bites us, we die. If he breathes on us, we might die. If his blood touches us, we die. We have to vent the ship," a tactical officer.
The universe has rules. Physics is the same everywhere. If you drop a stone, it falls. If you push a creature with enough force, it falls. But on the Xylon spaceship, the rules were breaking. In the engine room, Captain Jack had pulled the lever. He didn't know exactly what he had done, but he felt it instantly. His shoulders felt heavier. His legs felt like they were made of lead. His stomach felt like it dropped an inch. It was gravity. Jack looked at the dial. It was glowing red. He had increased the artificial gravity of the ship to maximum. "Whoa," Jack grunted, rolling his shoulders. "Feels like I'm wearing a 50-pound rucksack again, just like basic training." To Jack, it was uncomfortable. It was tiring, but it was not deadly. Humans evolved on Earth. Earth is a massive, dense rock. Humans are born fighting gravity from their very first breath. Our bones are thick to hold us up. Our muscles are dense to push against the world. But to the aliens? To the Xylons, this was the apocalypse. On the bridge, Commander Zex was on the floor. He wasn't lying down because he wanted to. He was pinned. It felt like an invisible car had been parked on top of him. "Can't breathe," Zex wheezed. His chest cavity was fragile. The weight of his own skin was crushing his lungs. Around him, the crew was screaming in silence. They were flat on their bellies. One technician tried to lift his arm to reach a button, but his arm snapped with a dry, crack sound. The bone couldn't lift the weight of the hand. Dr. Vrock, the scientist, was pinned under his own console. He stared at the monitor with wide, terrified eyes. "Gravity at 2.5 Gs, Vrock gasped. "Lethal levels." "He killed us," Zex whispered. "He must be dead too." It made sense to them. If the strongest Xylon soldier couldn't stand up, then the soft, pink human must be flattened. His organs must have exploded. His soft skin must have turned into paste. But then,
They looked at the security monitor. The engine room camera was still working. The image was shaky, but it was clear. Commander Zex's eyes widened so much they almost tore. "Impossible," he choked out. On the screen, Captain Jack was not dead. He was not flat on the floor. He was standing. He was bent over slightly, his hands on his knees, taking deep breaths. Huff, huff, but he was standing on two legs. "How?" Vrock whispered. "Look at his legs. They are holding hundreds of pounds of pressure." On the screen, Jack stood up straight. He cracked his neck. Pop! He picked up the heavy metal pipe he had been using as a weapon. In this gravity, the pipe should have been too heavy to lift, but Jack lifted it. His biceps bulged, thick and hard like steel cables. Jack looked at the camera. He couldn't hear the aliens, but he knew they were watching. He started to walk. Thud, thud, thud. Every step was heavy. The sound vibrated through the floor. Jack wasn't running anymore. He didn't need to run. In this high gravity, nobody else could move. He was the only thing on the ship that could walk. He was the king of the ship. "He's coming," Zex whimpered. "Lock the doors." "I can't reach the controls," the tactical officer cried from the floor. "Voice command," Zex shouted, spitting up blue blood. "Computer, seal all blast doors, level 10 security." The ship's computer responded. "Affirmative, sealing bridge access." Massive steel doors, thick enough to stop a missile, slammed shut in the corridor leading to the bridge. The aliens felt a tiny bit of relief. Even if the monster could walk, he couldn't get through 10 inches of solid Titan steel. In the corridor, Jack saw the doors slam shut. He stopped. He wiped the sweat from his eyes. The gravity was making him sweat more. His heart was pounding like a drum, working hard to pump blood against the heavy force. But the adrenaline was still there. The anger was still there. "You think a door is going to stop me?" Jack growled. He walked up to the door. He didn't have a key card. He didn't have a hacking tool. He looked at the wall next to the door. It was made of thinner metal panels and glass observation windows. The aliens had made a mistake. They built strong doors, but weak walls. They never expected an enemy who could punch through a wall. Jack raised the metal pipe. Clang! He hit the glass. It cracked. Clang! He hit it again. A spiderweb of cracks appeared. On the bridge, the sound of the banging echoed like thunder. Boom! 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 With every hit, the aliens flinched. "He is breaking in," Vrock said. "His bones, they are denser than concrete. He is using his body as a battering ram." Jack dropped the pipe. It was bending. He decided to use his shoulder. He stepped back. He took a breath. Whew! Jack threw his body weight against the weakened panel. Crash! Metal twisted, glass shattered. Jack fell through the hole, rolling onto the floor of the corridor leading to the bridge. He stood up, brushing glass shards off his uniform. The glass cut his skin. He was bleeding from his forehead. But to the aliens watching the feed, the blood made him look even more terrifying. It was war paint. He was now just outside the bridge. Commander Zex watched the door. He tried to crawl away, but his legs wouldn't work. "Computer, deactivate gravity!" Zex screamed. Unable to comply, manual override is located in the engine room. "We're trapped," Zex realized. Suddenly, the lights went out. Jack had smashed a conduit in the hallway. The bridge was plunged into darkness. Only the red emergency lights from the consoles blinked. The room was pitch black, silent except for the ragged breathing of the terrified crew. Then they heard it. Footsteps. Thud, thud, thud. They were slow, deliberate, unstoppable. The heavy footsteps stopped right outside the main bridge door. There was a moment of silence. Then, the sound of metal tearing. Screech! The heavy blast doors were not opening. They were being pried apart. Two human hands, white-knuckled and shaking with effort, appeared in the crack between the doors. Jack was pulling the doors open with raw strength. His muscles screamed, his veins popped out, but he pulled. The motors of the door whined and sparked, trying to keep it closed, but the human was stronger. "It's a monster," a guard whispered in the dark. "It's a demon." With a final roar, Jack shoved the doors open wide enough to squeeze through. He stepped onto the bridge. The scene was chaotic. The alien crew members were scattered on the floor like broken dolls. They were gasping, crying, unable to lift their heads. And standing above them, silhouetted by the sparks from the broken door, was the human. He looked terrible. His clothes were ripped. He was covered in sweat, blue alien blood, and his own red blood. He was breathing hard, his chest heaving up and down. But he was the only one standing. Jack looked around the room. He saw the aliens on the floor. He realized why they were down. "Oh," Jack said, his voice raspy. "You guys can't handle a little weight." He walked over to Commander Zex. Zex looked up, his neck straining to lift his head just an inch. He looked at Jack's boots. They were heavy, military boots. If Jack kicked him, his head would shatter like an egg. "Please," Zex wheezed. "Mercy." Jack looked down at the alien leader. He saw the fear. He saw the total defeat. Jack didn't kick him. He didn't shoot him. Instead, Jack sagged down. He sat in the commander's chair. It was a bit too small for him, but he squeezed in. He leaned back and put his heavy boots up on the console, right next to Zex's face. "Gravity is a bitch, isn't it?" Jack said. "How?" Zex asked, tears of pain running down his face. "How are you alive? Your bones should be dust." Jack tapped his own chest. He said, "Calcium. Where I come from, we drink the milk of other animals to make our bones hard. We lift heavy iron for fun. We run until we vomit, and then we run some more. You guys studied our biology, but you missed the most important part." "What part?" Vrock asked from under the table. "We don't break," Jack said. "We bounce back." Jack looked at the controls. "Now," he said, "I'm going to take a nap, because fighting your whole ship made me tired. You guys stay on the floor. If anyone moves, I'll increase the gravity to 3.0 and turn you all."
The red emergency lights on the bridge were flickering. The ship was dying. The engine, damaged by Captain Jack earlier, was coughing its last breaths. Inside the bridge, the situation was desperate. Commander Zex and his crew were still pinned to the floor, unable to move under the heavy gravity. But at the door, the enemy had arrived. 3 heavy metallic boots stepped through the broken blast doors. These were not living aliens. These were the ship's peacekeeper drones. They were 7 feet tall, made of silver chrome, and they had no pain receptors. They didn't care about gravity. Their motors whirred loudly as they adjusted to the weight. Captain Jack stood between the drones and the helpless alien crew. He held his bent metal pipe in his shaking hands. He was exhausted. His vision was blurry. He had lost blood. He had been fighting for hours without rest. But he smiled. "Come on, tin cans," Jack shouted. "Let's dance." The first drone raised its arm. A stun baton extended from its wrist. It swung at Jack. Jack didn't block it. He couldn't. Blocking a robot would break his arm. He dodged. He rolled under the drone's arm and swung his pipe at the drone's leg joint. Crack! The pipe dented the metal, but the drone didn't fall.
It kicked Jack. The kick hit Jack in the chest. He flew backward and crashed into the main console. "He is finished," Commander Zex whispered from the floor. "Biologicals cannot fight machines." Jack coughed. He tasted blood. His ribs hurt. But then, the adrenaline kicked in one last time. That chemical magic that aliens didn't understand. It flooded his brain. It screamed, "Get up!" Jack stood up. He grabbed a loose wire from the broken console. The wire was sparking with high-voltage electricity. "Eat this," Jack growled. He charged. He didn't aim for the armor. He aimed for the neck, where the sensors were. He jammed a live wire into the drone's neck gap. Blue sparks showered the room. The drone seized up, shaking violently, and then collapsed. One down, two to go. The second drone aimed a laser. It hit Jack's thigh. Jack screamed, falling to one knee. The pain was blinding. The drone stepped forward to finish him. It raised its heavy metal foot to crush Jack's skull. Jack looked up. He knew he couldn't dodge this one. He closed his eyes. He thought, well, I took a lot of them with me. A massive explosion rocked the bridge. The wall behind the drones vanished in a ball of fire. Debris flew everywhere. The shockwave knocked the drones over. Through the smoke, lights appeared. Bright, white, tactical lights. Heavy footsteps shook the floor. These weren't alien steps. These were heavy, rhythmic, disciplined steps. 4 figures walked through the smoke. They were huge. They wore thick black power armor with the emblem of Earth on the chest. They carried massive rotary cannons. Human Marines. Target identified. A deep voice boomed through a helmet speaker. Hostiles engaged. The Marines opened fire. The sound was deafening. The rotary cannons tore the alien drones apart in seconds. The silver metal turned into scrap. One Marine walked over to Jack. He knelt down. His armor hummed. "Captain Jack?" the Marine asked. Jack looked up, grinning through his bloody teeth. "Took you guys long enough. I was just warming up." The Marine chuckled. "Command said there was a distress signal from a captured human. We didn't expect to find you sitting in the captain's chair." "Medic!" the Marine shouted. "Get him patched up. Secure the room." The other Marines pointed their weapons at the aliens on the floor. "On your feet," a Marine ordered Commander Zex. He didn't care about the gravity. He grabbed the alien leader by his neck and lifted him up like a rag doll. Commander Zex looked at the Marine's armor. It was scratched, painted with shark teeth and covered in weapons. Then he looked at Jack, who was already trying to stand up despite his wounds. "2 of them," Zex whispered in horror. "There are more of them." Jack limped over to Zex. The Marine medic was wrapping a bandage around Jack's leg. Jack looked Zex in the eye. "I told you, we are not weak. We are just patient." Zex looked down. "I surrender. Just take the gravity off, please." 6 months later, the setting was a massive circular room floating in a space station. This was the High Council of the galaxy. Representatives from 100 different alien species were seated in floating pods. The room was silent. In the center of the room stood Dr. Vork. He was the only survivor of the Exelon science team. He had spent months in a human prison before being released to deliver a message. He looked old. His skin was pale. He walked with a limp, a reminder of the gravity that had almost crushed him. "Speak, Dr. Vork," the elder said. The elder was a floating creature with 3 heads. "You claim that the humans are a threat, but their technology is primitive. Their ships are slow. Why should we fear them?" Dr. Vork placed a data crystal on the projector. A giant hologram of a human appeared. It was a 3D scan of Captain Jack. "Honorable Council," Vork began, his voice shaking.
We made a mistake. We judged them by their technology. We judged them by their soft skin, but we failed to look inside. Vork pointed at the hologram. Fact number 1, adrenaline. When a human is in danger, they do not freeze. Their body injects a combat drug directly into their blood. It removes fear. It removes pain. It makes them 3 times stronger for short bursts. They turn into monsters on command. The council murmured, "A natural combat drug?" Fact number 2, regeneration. Vork continued. We shot the subject. We cut him. In our species, a hole in the skin means death. The fluid leaks out and we die. But humans, they seal themselves. Their blood turns solid to plug the hole. Their cells rebuild the damage in days. They are self-repairing machines. And finally, Vork said, taking a deep breath, endurance. He showed the footage of Jack running. We chased him. We thought he would tire, but he did not stop. He ran for hours. He fought for hours. They hunt by exhausting their prey. They do not need to be faster than you. They just need to keep coming until you collapse. The Grand Elder looked at the hologram with concern. So, what is your recommendation, Doctor? Do we destroy them? Destroy them, Vork laughed, a dry, sad sound. We tried. We used lasers, we used gravity, we used heat. The subjects survived it all. If we attack their planet, they will not surrender. They will not die. They will just get angry. And if you make a human angry, they will not stop until you are extinct. Vork looked up at the council. My recommendation is simple. Change their classification. To what? The elder asked. Change it from Class 1, harmless civilization, to Class 10, death worlders. The room went silent. Class 10 was a category reserved for non-sentient beasts, monsters. And, Vork added, put a quarantine beacon around their solar system. Put up a sign that says, "Do not approach," because if we go back there, they might follow us home. The Grand Elder nodded slowly. He stamped the digital file. Warning, eliminate hostiles. Warning, avoid Earth at all costs. Captain Jack sat in a bar in New York. He was wearing civilian clothes. He had a scar on his forehead and a slight limp, but he looked happy. He was holding a cold glass of beer. Around him, people were laughing, arguing, and shouting. The music was loud. The air was full of smoke and smell. It was dirty. It was chaotic. It was loud. It was perfect. A friend sat down next to him. Hey, Jack, you never told us what happened up there. What were the aliens like? Jack took a sip of his beer. He thought about the sterile white lab. He thought about the fragile alien glass. And he thought about how terrified they looked when he just stood up. The aliens? Jack smiled. They were polite, smart, high-tech. Really? So, are they better than us? Jack set his glass down. No, they're too perfect. They forgot that the universe isn't perfect. It's messy. And to survive in a messy universe, you gotta be a little bit of a monster yourself. Jack looked out the window at the stars. They won't be coming back, Jack said softly. They learned that humans are too stubborn to die. And that is why you never underestimate a human.